Hello folks, welcome to EvolvNext, and we are in the Python for Data Science module, and our today's topic of discussion is data transformation. Today we will have a look at um, how to actually transform the data. That is, how to change the data type of a particular column, then how to rename a particular column, then how to add new columns, modify a column, add a row, modify rows, then how to set index and again reset index, and how to group and aggregate the data in a data set. Then also we will have a look how to apply functions to a particular data frame. So let's jump in. Our first statement, as usual, import pandas as PD, PD being the alias name. Then I have data set um, called as transform underscore movies. Well, I forgot the S over here, but it doesn't matter. So when I load this database and I try to see what is there in database, you would see some 10 rows there. I kept it as simple as possible. I'm not taking a lot of rows here. So you would see here the data consists of movie ID, title, then release year, genre, IMDb rating, budget, and revenue. All right. So let's check what are the data types of all these columns. For that, we have df.dtypes, which we are already aware, and we would see there are three data types that come in by default. That is integer, float, and if it is not both of these, it is an object. However, we have some specialized data types as well, in which we can convert. These are something that come by default, as we already know from our previous videos. Presumably, say I want to change data type of budget and revenue to float instead of integer. Then I have this function as type, and I can change it to float. So if I run this and again try to see df.data types, then you would see here the data types are changed from integer to float. All right. Then let's see how to rename column in a data set. Okay. So if I run this, and before running this, I'll just explain the syntax. We have rename function inside which we have this parameter called as columns, wherein you can mention the column name and the name that you want to replace it with, and it should be in a form of a dictionary. If you're not well versed with how dictionaries work, we have a separate video in our Python for beginner series. You may refer to it. Okay. And I have also used in place. So these two columns I want to replace is the column is release year. I want to replace it by release underscore year. Then there is next column IMDb underscore IMDb rating. I would replace it by IMDb underscore rating. And in place is equal to true indicates that these changes will be saved permanently. You would see here the column names earlier were release year and IMDb space rating. So instead of space, by using this command, what should happen is space should be replaced by the underscore. So let's see if we are able to do it successfully. Yeah, look at this. Look at the output. We have successfully renamed the column. Now moving on to the next section, how to add a new column. There might be a need where you want to do some calculation based on existing columns, and you want to add a new column to your data set. Now we have revenue and we have budget, and we want to calculate profit. Now this calculation happens on each row, right? So that's the reason we want to add new column, and for each row, what is the profit we want to show it. And formula is pretty simple. It's revenue minus budget. However, look at this. By using this df and in the square base profit, we are creating new column. So let's see if that gets created or not. Yes, we are able to successfully create the column called as new column called as profit. Now, suppose you want to modify existing column. That is, if you want to explicitly tell the database that the rating should be rounded to 1. Okay, so if I want to do that, then I can simply write the code as imdb rating dot round of 1. So round of 1 in the sense after decimal, after decimal point there will be only one digit. If you want to round it to two digits, or you don't want rating, then simply use round function. That's it. I want to round it to 1. That's the reason I have written imdb underscore rating df dot round 1. Explicitly I am telling that this column will only have uh, one digit after the decimal point, something called as precision. All right. So yeah, you would see IMDb rating being displayed as 9.0, 7.8, and 8.7. So all are displayed in all are displayed in the form of one digit after decimal. Now let's see how to add a new row. Now here you are adding it in the form of dictionary again. So we need to clear how we add how we create a dictionary actually. Then we have to convert that new row into a data frame first. If you directly go on to add using this concat method, it is not going to happen. First you need to convert it to the format of the data frame. That's the reason I have used a data frame function, and then you add it to a new row, and then you write ignore index is equal to true. Okay, the ignore index, because whenever you add new row, it starts from new index, that is it starts again from 0. So if you see here, new row would be added easily. Okay, at the 10th index. All right, if I don't write ignore index here, it will simply start the index from 0. If you would notice, look at this, look at this, we don't want this to start from 0, we want this to start from 11. That's the reason we write it as ignore index. Now moving on to the next section, you would see here earlier when we used, before moving to the next section, you would see here earlier we had used ignore index. The index got adjusted to 10. However, when we removed it, the index again started with 0, which is something we don't want. All right, we want to maintain the indexes. That's the reason we ignored it. And then if you want to modify a particular row, even you can do that. Look at this. I have just mentioned the location. These are the explicit indexes, so I use the explicit index 6, and on the explicit index whichever value is there, I'm just trying to modify. So instead of 2014 over here in our data, I am trying to take what? Let me show you the data first. There in our DF, this is what we have in DF, right? And I want to change it. Change the year 2000. Instead of 2014, I want to mention the year 2015. So what I would do, I would simply come here and mention the index is 5, and I will try to change this. So look at this, the year has changed. So if you want to change a single value also in a particular row, you can definitely do it in this way, accessing using the explicit index or maybe implicit index. Okay, then if you want at any point of time to set index with a column name, here in this case I'm setting the movie ID as an index. All right, so in that also I can do it very easily with using the set index function, set index movie ID. So you would see here the explicit index has vanished and movie ID has become an index. And if you want to come back to what we were earlier, just do a df dot reset index. That will again bring explicit index into the play. Okay, so that's how you set indexes and reset index for a particular data set. Then moving ahead, how to group and aggregate the data. Okay, so if you at any point of time want to group data, here in this case I've grouped the data by genre to perform aggregations like sum, mean, average, or in this case I'm performing only sum and mean. If you want to do average, whatever aggregation you want to perform, you can very well do it using df dot group by function. And inside the group by and along with group by, you can use agg function, wherein you can mention on what basis you want to make an aggregation. Is it a mean, is it a sum, or is it a average? I have used these three columns on which I have done aggregation, that is IMDb rating. I have taken mean, that is I am trying to take average IMDb rating, and I am trying to look for total budget and total revenue that was generated per genre. This was my goal, and that's the reason I used this one. So let me check if I'm able to successfully get respective outputs. Yes, I did. Look at this action. For the genre action, this was the budget and this was the revenue, and this was the average rating. Then for drama, this was the one, and for sci-fi, this was the one. So accordingly, whatever I try to group, the data would be generated. And so is it always necessary that you do aggregation for group by whenever you use group by statements? No, absolutely not, right? You may want in some cases that you don't want to perform aggregation, you just want to apply group by, so that also you can do, very much possible. And here I group it again by genre. This time I don't do any aggregations, but if I want to see a particular group, I need to use get underscore group function, and I would be easily able to see what is there in that particular group. So if I run this cell, you would see here I had used get group, and all the information or all the rows that are aligned with the sci-fi group are displayed over here, because I did a get group sci-fi group. Okay, So this is very much possible. Then what is next is, um hold on, let me just check. Yeah, df dot reset index. Perform this df dot reset index again, and then what I do is apply function to data frames. Okay, so how do you apply a particular function? You know how to write function. We have studied this in our Python for beginner series. So this is a function with written with name profit underscore margin. Def is the keyword that defines. So this is a function definition basically, and it takes one parameter. That parameter is nothing but named as row. All right, what does it do? Returns row profit. All right, so whatever there is in profit column divided by revenue into 100. That is nothing but the formula to calculate the profit margin, right? And you want to calculate this for each and every row. So you would not be performing or writing this formula over and over again. Instead, you can very well use the apply function to the specific data frame and get the expected result. Now, this profit uh, margin will be calculated by applying the profit margin function, which you would see here in the apply function. The first parameter is the function name, and the next parameter is axis. Axis is equal to 1. That is, on every row in that column, the profit margin will be calculated. So if I try to look at the profit margin per movie, that's the reason I took title over here, and I'm easily able to see what is the profit margin that was achieved per movie as per our data set. So that's all about data transformation. I hope you were able to understand the concepts of data transformation, which plays a very important role before analyzing data. All right. So in the next video, we would see how to reshape the data set, and going forward, we'll move on from there. Okay. So I hope I hope you had a nice time looking into data transformation. See you in the next video. Thank you.